Okay. Hi, everybody. Neil Bortz here. I'm the high priest of the Church of the Painful Truth. And everybody move up from the back pews. Apparently, I've uttered some painful truths that have a few people a little bit more than upset. And it happened on Hannity's 15th anniversary show from Atlanta, which was last week. But if you're watching this weeks from now, that doesn't mean anything to you. But anyway, we were talking about this disaster that has presented itself upon America, Barack Obama. And I opined, I'm on stage with Ollie North actually at the time, and I said that Obama was a bigger disaster for this country than 9/11. Ollie North started ooching over in his chair, and Sean's eyes got a little wide, and he said, well, 3,000 people died. And my response, well, Media Matters accurately, within minutes, quoted me, unlike Ed Schultz, who likes to take tape recordings and alter them so that he can play the altered recordings on the air and have a great show, which hasn't happened yet. At any rate, what about 3,000 deaths? I said, that's a tragedy, but in the long term, it doesn't measure up to what Barack Obama has done to this country. So I'm here. Oh, did I ever get the hate mail? And the tweets were, I ought to take a bullet. Yep, somebody says I ought to take a bullet. And other people said, so those 3,000 people asked to be murdered? What? Where did you get that from those comments? So I decided to come on the air here. This is the first time I've ever tried to make one of these little videos and present you with a few statistics. I have some meager notes that we're going to work with here. First of all, let's talk about the impact of 9/11, short, long term. You want to talk about the American dollar versus the euro? I was in Europe a couple of months ago, and I was spending $10 for a Diet Coke. They call it Coke Light over there. The dollar wasn't doing all that well against the euro, and that was 10 years after 9/11. So in 2001, in August, a month before 9/11, 90 cents bought you €1. That was the average for August. 90 cents would buy you €1. September, 91 cents would buy you €1. What about the next month? Did the dollar just crash? No, 88 cents would buy you €1. And 1 year later, 98 cents would buy you €1. Look, the Islamic terrorists, and yeah, I call them Islamic terrorists. I never miss a chance to do that. And that would be because, well, we're going to celebrate the 70th anniversary, if you want to call it that, the 70th remembrance of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. And you know what? They still call it the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor 70 years ago. 10 years later, it's politically incorrect to call it the radical Islamic attack on America. Well, it was. And they attacked on 3 fronts. Our economy, our government, our military. They flew a plane into the Pentagon trying to attack our military. I think we all know our military survived and recovered admirably. They tried to attack our government. Flight 93 was headed to the White House or to the U.S. Capitol building, and some incredibly brave, heroic Americans prevented that from happening. And they tried to attack our economy. That was the World Trade Towers in New York City. Did they succeed? Long-term impact. Well, a group out of the University of Southern California called the Center for Risk and Economic Analysis. This report was last year, 9 years after 9/11. They wanted to see what was the economic impact of 9/11 on this country. And they said, short-lived. Short-lived. Far less than original estimates. Nationally, the terrorist attacks had an effect of about 0.5% to 1% of our gross domestic product. And in the New York regional area, the gross regional product went down 1.2%. Clearly, the attack on the American economy, it failed. And don't give me the cost of the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, because when you put that up against the explosion of government spending under George Bush, not counting the wars, and certainly under Barack Obama, okay, the cost of those wars over there has been just a few single-digit percentage points. So economically, the Islamic radicals that attacked this country failed to make the dent they wanted to make. But what about Barack Obama? Now understand something about Barack Obama. And as I said, this is the Church of the Painful Truth. Here's a painful truth. You, almost any of you watching this video, have more of an idea of what it means to be an American and have experienced more of what it means to be an American than the president, than Barack Obama. He was raised in Hawaii and Indonesia. He never lived in this country other than as an infant until he went to Occidental as a college student. In Indonesia, you certainly weren't infused with what it meant to be an American, and in Hawaii, not there either, because I lived in Hawaii. I went to school in Hawaii. I understand what you learn in the schools in Hawaii. It's not an emphasis on American history and the American experience. It's Hawaii. And he went to that elite private school, Punahou. Wow, another coincidence. My sister taught at Punahou at just about the same time Barack Obama was attending that school. Again, you're infused with the legends, the history, and the saga of Hawaii, not so much the United States. This guy doesn't know. He's never really lived the American experience. And when he came into office, his goal, as he said, was to fundamentally transform the United States of America. Now, how many of you bought into a fundamental transformation of your country? You were sick of the wars, you were sick of George Bush, you were afraid about the economy. Yeah, I understand that there's reasons. But did you sign on to a fundamental transformation of this country from a free enterprise economy to a command economy where economic decisions are not made by millions of free Americans casting their economic votes in the marketplace every day, but economic decisions made by a president and his cabinet members in Washington, D.C.? That's what you have right now. What else do you have right now? 9.1% unemployment. Among black American teenagers, 47% unemployment. Among black Americans, 17% unemployment. And it persists, and it goes on, and it continues. Record high foreclosures. In one of my home cities of Atlanta, the foreclosures are rising again. People are losing their retirements because of failures in their investments. This country is on the ropes. And then Barack Obama sits up there in the White House and he says, blame the tsunami. Oh yeah, the tsunami. Blame Europe. Blame everybody but the United States. Barack Obama has amassed more debt. Now listen to this. He has amassed more national debt in the first 3 years of his administration than all of the first 41 presidents, from George Washington through George H.W. Bush. All of them, all of the debt they built up, Barack Obama has doubled down. Barack Obama has increased our government spending by, about 25% now over what George Bush increased it. It took George Bush 8 years to do that, and he did. But Barack Obama did it in 2.5. The man is a disaster. We have businesses out there that won't hire. Why not? Because of the tsunami. Have you ever walked into a place and tried to get a job? And the guy said, well, I'd like to hire right now, but there was a tsunami over there in Japan. Or I'd like to hire right now, but there's protesters in Greece. No, they say, I'd like to hire right now, but I don't know what the future holds for me in this country because of Obamacare. I don't know how much it would cost me to hire you. I don't know what sort of financial regulations I'm going to face under the Consumer Finance Reform Act. Obamacare. That is one of the biggest jobs killers in this country. Did that come from 9/11? The Consumer Finance Reform Act. Did that come from 9/11? That's where your $5 debit card fee came from. Oh, and did you know that hay, I don't mean hay, I mean the kind of hay they feed horses, cows. Hay is now a pollutant under Barack Obama's EPA. You leave hay standing in a field and the EPA might come down on you. Oh, and what about farm dust? What in the wide, wide world of sports is farm dust? That's also a pollutant. Carbon dioxide, the upcoming regulations on that. There are electric power plants around this country that say we're going to have to close down permanently because we can't meet those new CO2 standards. How many electric power plants closed down permanently because of 9/11? And then in other areas, it's not what Barack Obama did, it's what he hasn't done. No entitlement reform. Go down there and visit Galveston County, Texas. Those workers in Galveston County, Texas, they privatized their Social Security in 1981. Now they get $25,000 to $30,000 to $42,000 a year more out of their plan than we do out of Social Security. And our death benefit is $255. Theirs is 4 times their annual salary. Entitlement reform. Why won't we do that? Well, because if you owned your own Social Security account, the Democrats couldn't come up to you and say, elect the Republicans and they're going to take away your Social Security. You'd say, what? I own my account, clown. I own it. They can't take it away. So there's my defense. If you want to blame people for the state that this country is in right now, Barack Obama, and even more than him, Barney Frank. But then we have to get into another lecture here about the role of Barney Frank in preventing Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac reform. So there's my case. Barack Obama, a disaster. 9/11, a horrible, horrible tragedy. Never a worse tragedy for those people who lost friends and loved ones, and we all mourn them. But in the long term, Barack Obama, worse for America than 9/11. I've had my say. I'll see you on the radio.